Sziasztok, barátok! Based Hungary here again, and today we're going to talk about basically the slop coalition and their first round of choosing a potential candidate for the prime ministership of Hungary. That is, who's going to go against Viktor Orban in April. So, as per my predictions, the person that won this was Klára Dobrev. She is the president of the Democratic Coalition. That is the wife of Gyurcsány Ferenc, the first minister who basically is why back in 2006 Budapest was virtually a battleground. So yeah, so she won it as per my predictions. Second place was the mayor of Budapest, Karácsony Gergely, and in third, Márki-Zay Péter, and fourth was a chap called what's his name? Jacob Péter. So Jakov Péter. That's a nice little dog walker over there. Sorry, it's a bit different video today. So basically, if you know, well, I don't really want to talk about how this happened. I want, in a sense, I want to talk about who these people are more in depth, because I feel that a lot of my viewers from obviously a non-Hungarian background will not know almost anything about these characters, and they are very interesting characters, to say the least. So let's start with the winner. Klára Dobrev is basically, again, as I said in previous videos, she is the wife of Gyurcsány Ferenc, and she comes from a very hard left communist background. I mean, her Dobrev is the name, comes from Bulgaria, and her granddad was from a very communist Bulgarian party. And on the other side, her family is called Apro Család. Apro is the surname, and that was also a very fanatical, I believe her granddad was in the cabinet of, or had some relations with Rákosi Mátyás, who was the Stalinist dictator of Hungary. And now, of course, she is a very liberal representative of the Hungarian left, and she's very pro-European and very anti-corruption, and yes, well, you know, all the things that are anti-nation, really. Promises, obviously she always promises big wage rises and, you know, what have you. It's what the left does, you know. Everything the left does in every other country, she does in Hungary. And obviously, but quite interestingly, she wasn't supposed to win. I'll tell you about this a bit later on in the video. So the second person was Karácsony Gergely. Now this guy, if you type his name into Google, I mean, he looks like an overgrown little boy from nursery. He is the biggest opportunist you have ever met, but he lacks charisma. He actually really, really lacks. I mean, Jesus, this guy. So I believe he started off his political career in Lehet más a politika, which just means in Hungarian that politics can be different. Again, if you guys are interested, there's always videos about different political parties, which were some of my first videos. But this, again, he was in that party, which was a little green party at the time, obviously maybe center-left-ish. And then he went to the Hungarian Socialist Party, and then he went in the Democratic Coalitions. I believe he had ambitions to become, again, a candidate to become a first minister or prime minister candidate for the opposition, which he lost back in 2018 as well. And like now, and what you have to know about this guy is he's an opportunist. He goes from party to party. Obviously, all his left-wing parties, and from position to position, and always tries to get to become prime minister and reach higher and higher basically echelons of political system in Hungary. And the only reason he became the mayor of Hungary is because, like every other big city and in Europe, unfortunately, Budapest does have its cosmopolitan elements, and for some reason they. It's not the case that the population liked him. It's more the case that they voted against the so-called Fidesz candidate. Um, but the guy who was before, Karácsony Gergely, um, wasn't actually part of Fidesz. He was just a close Fidesz, and he had close to Fidesz, and he had conservative values. I forget the names of him as well, but as soon as it comes to mind, I will say his name. István Tarlós, so Stephen Tarlós, if you want to translate it into English. István Tarlós was the guy, was the previous mayor of Hungary, and actually, Mr. Tarlós wasn't actually that bad. He did reduce homelessness quite a bit. A lot of investment did go into renewing the city, and he did actually build a lot of park and rides, that is car parks on the outskirts of the city, so people would use more public transportation. Well, he started to do that anyway. So he wasn't actually by any accounts a very bad or corrupt politician. Yeah, in my opinion, he was actually pretty good. And from what I've been hearing in retrospect now, whenever I take a taxi in Hungary, which I do quite a lot when I go to Budapest, everyone always said that they either said that Tarlós was very good, or they said or they always said, well, at least he was better than Karácsony Gergely, because this Karácsony Gergely is absolutely incompetent. He started building cycle lanes on the busiest ways in the city, near bridges, near the main arteries of the city, basically doing a half job, which is that is saying that it's not actually bicycle lanes that he built. He just painted them on the ground. Because he has to make the city green. You know, this whole trend in every big European city of making everything green, even if you screw up the transportation, which in Hungary is actually really good, especially in Budapest. He also really messed up the corona situation in the beginning, even though he was quite anxious of it. He was, to be fair, he was wary of it, so he wasn't like downplaying it, but he just